Hi, in this module we are going to start our preparation for the reading section of the TOEFL test. But first of all, we are going to cover some important information that you need to know in order to familiarize yourself with it. Let's start with the characteristics of the section. First of all, let's try to answer these questions. Do you know anything about this information? For example, how many passages are there in the reading section of the TOEFL test? Most of the times, there are going to be 5 passages. It is important that you know that the reading passages that come in the TOEFL test are not complete texts. They are just excerpts from different sources. For example, magazines or articles or books or journals. Okay? So they are not complete. They are just sections of a complete thing. Okay, how many questions have to be answered in this section? You have to answer 50 questions. How much time is given to answer this section of the test? You have to answer the 50 questions in 55 minutes. And how much time should you use to answer each question? Yes, you have to use approximately 1 minute to answer each question. So, it is very, very important that you remember that you have 1 minute to answer each question. Why? Because you have 50 questions and 55 minutes. So, it is recommendable that the last 5 minutes, if you have time left, you use it in order to check your answers. There are some misconceptions about this section of the TOEFL test. We are going to cover the 4 of them, and I am going to tell you what I think about each of them. The first one is that in order to answer the reading section, I have to read the 5 passages completely. That is not true, and it is not possible to read the 5 passages completely. Why? Because as we said in the previous part, you only have 1 minute to answer each question. So, reading the complete passages is not helpful. You do not start the reading section by reading the first text completely. If you do that, you will not be able to finish the section in the time that you have. The second misconception is I start the reading section by reading the first passage. As I already mentioned, this is incorrect, right? You don't read the first passage. The first thing that you do is read the first question and try to find the answer. Number 3, I cannot answer the questions because I am not familiar with the passage's topic. This is another misconception. Yeah, even though you don't know what the passage is about, even though you don't know the topic of the passage, you are still able to answer the questions. There are different kinds of tools and different kinds of words and phrases that the exam gives in order for you to understand what the topic is about. So don't worry. Even though you don't know about the topic, you will be able to answer the questions. The fourth misconception is I will be penalized if I guess an answer for a question. That is not true. Yeah, it is much better that you answer all the questions than leaving answers in blank. You are not penalized for guessing. So if you don't know an answer, guess. Choose the letter that you like the most and answer the question, but do not leave answers blank. Okay? Okay. Today we are going to start with the main idea. It is important to mention that in the reading section of the test, you are going to be dealing with 2 different kinds of questions. Questions that are easy and time-saving, and questions that are challenging and time-spending. So, for example, if we talk about questions that are challenging and time-spending, this is one of them, the main idea. Another one is the organization of the passage. For example, the tone, the purpose, the subject. Those are questions that can be challenging and time spending. But on the other hand, we have questions that are easy and time saving. For example, vocabulary questions, for example, pronoun reference questions. So be sure that you get trained very, very well in order for you to be able to take advantage of those easy questions, because you can save lots of time if you really know how to answer them. Okay, but our objective here is to help you learn how to answer all types of questions. So we are going to start with the first one, that is the main idea. If you notice, we have a passage. Take some time in order to read it, or in order to read the important section of it in order to answer the question. As I said, the first thing that you have to do is read the first question and try to find the answer. So the question is, what is the topic of this passage? So we have the intelligence of John Dewey, distinctions made by John Dewey, Dewey's ideas on the ability to reason, and how intelligence differs from reasoning in Dewey's works. So, what is the strategy? Well, every single passage has a topic sentence. A topic sentence is the sentence that summarizes the passage, and that is the main idea. So, it is recommendable that in order to discover the main idea of a passage, we read the first line of the passage of the first paragraph, or the first line of every single paragraph. And in case that we have doubts, it is also recommendable to read the last paragraph. So let's do it together. We have, in the philosophy of John Dewey, a sharp distinction is made between intelligence and reasoning. Okay, so with that sentence should be enough in order to find the answer. But if you still don't know, you can read the last one, which says, with reasoning, a level of mental certainty can be achieved, but it is through intelligence that control is taken of events that shape one's life. So, what is the answer for the question? What is the topic of the passage? The topic of the passage is letter D, how intelligence differs from reasoning in Dewey's works. Let's analyze the other three options. We have letter A, the intelligence of John Dewey. That is not correct because they didn't mention this topic. Distinctions made by John Dewey in letter B? Well, yeah, that is partly correct. Unfortunately, the answer is not complete. Letter C, Dewey's ideas on the ability to reason. Well, that can be also correct, but it is 50% correct. Why? Because they didn't mention intelligence. So if you notice, the only option that covers all the important information is letter D. Let's do another example. We have this passage, and if you notice, this one is different because you have two paragraphs. So as I said, it is recommendable that you read the first line of each paragraph. And if you cannot still get the answer, you can read the last one. But let's see this case. We have nitrogen fixation is a process by which nitrogen is continuously fed into biological circulation. And if you notice, the second paragraph starts with, the opposite process of denitrification returns nitrogen to the air. So, the question is, which of the following would be the best title for this passage? This question is also asking you for the main idea. So, the title would be letter B, two nitrogen processes. Why? Because on one hand, you have the nitrogen fixation, and on the other hand, we have the opposite process of denitrification. So we have two nitrogen processes. Some common questions that are going to let you know that they are asking you for the topic are the following. What is the topic of the passage? What is the subject of the passage? What is the main idea of the passage? What is the author's main point in the passage? With what is the author primarily concerned? And which of the following would be the best title? All of these questions are asking you for the main idea. So remember, the most important tip: read the first line of each paragraph and try to draw a conclusion. If after doing that you still don't know which the answer is, I recommend you to read the last line of each paragraph and draw a conclusion then. Yeah, pass your eyes quickly over the rest of the passage to check that you really have found the topic sentence. And as I said, there are some situations that reading the last line of each paragraph can also be helpful. Okay, so go to the practice section and put in practice this strategy to find the main idea. See you next time.